Let's see if this class turns out better than the previous class, and then this will go on YouTube. We'll see how it goes. So it looks like we have 8 people participating. That gives us, there are 56 questions total when you add them all up. So that should give us about 7 questions each. I'll probably just do them in groups of 4 because that seems to be easiest. 4 seems to be a number that whoever is answering doesn't feel too overloaded by the time they get through 4 questions, I think. I don't really know. Y'all will tell me if you feel overloaded. So just looking at my list here. Ethan, would you like to do the first 4 exercises?
Yeah. Let's see. Papot and Taishopif and Toltef, the cup which I received from him.
Yep.
2. Pbema and Taftwoln Ibol Hiof, the platform which he rose away from on.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I wasn't sure which word to remove from that, so I kept them all in.
Yeah, that's fine. It's you know, we're doing the Coptic. The real purpose of the translating is just to give us a place to measure whether we've understood the Coptic. It's the only way for me to tell whether you've understood it.
Yeah.
So yeah, an excessively literal translation hurts no one.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then the bima which he rose from, I guess, is how we would say this in English, but yeah, which he rose out upon it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the redundancy is a little fun to work through at first. 3, Pob and Tough Joke and Molfibul, the work which he finished.
Exactly. Yep.
I guess maybe task. Maybe I deal
yeah,
with
task is fine.
4, Pei and Tau Kultif Emol, the house which he built.
Not quite. Very close. Very, very close. Like 90.
Wait. The house which they built. That's right.
The house.
Yeah.
The house which they built it there. And you could also treat this as a passive, the house which was built there.
Okay.
Either way is fine. This is the only Coptic way of expressing the house which they built there, and it's the only Coptic way of expressing the house which was built there.
Right.
So either translation is perfectly valid.
Gotcha.
All right. Good job, Ethan. Rasmus, do you want to take 4 of these?
Sure. So the first one, number 5, is Penu in Tau Hopef ha Bone, which would be the gold which we hid under the stone.
Good. Yeah.
Is that right? With the F being it.
Yeah, that's correct. So the gold which we hid it under the stone, and then in more fluent English, the gold which we hid under the stone. Yep.
Right. And number 6, Pone in Tafhe Episet Etchen Nauerete, probably.
Yeah.
The stone which fell down onto my feet.
That's it.
Number 7, Tepule in Taubok Ebol Hitootes, the gate through which they exited or went out.
Yeah, good.
And number 8, Pehov in Takshache Harof. I was a bit unsure about this, but the work which they spoke under it, about it, perhaps?
About it is right. So literally under it, but Egyptian uses the concept of being under something in a much broader metaphorical way than English does. So in Egyptian, if you're under something, it can mean that you have something, or it can also be the way of saying about. And there, the metaphor is like you're supporting the thing by being under it.
Right.
So yeah, it's weird that it says the thing which which you spoke under it, but that's just an Egyptian way of saying about it. And it's not unusual because of how broadly it uses the word under. There was an issue with the pronouns in your translation.
In
Intak
Chapter, you, masculine singular.
Good, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so you have it right. Just double checking that. The matter which you, masculine singular, spoke about it.
Sure, right.
All right, very good, Rasmus. And we'll move on to Hytham. Hytham, do you want to take 4?
Okay, number 9. Tehera entaiti nas imbehet, the widow to whom I gave the money to,
Good, yeah.
or the silver to.
Yeah, silver or money, either translation is fine.
Okay, number 10. Behillo entauhun ehoine etefri. The monk whose cell they approached, or the monk whose cell was approached.
Good, yeah, exactly right.
Number 1. I book Erakote Enau Ebayot. I went to Rakote or Alexandria to see my father.
Yeah, good.
Number 2. Awi Eshaje Mai. They came to speak with me.
Good, yeah. All correct. On the subject of Rakote or Alexandria, you can translate it either way. I think Rakote is it's like the construction district, and I think it's kind of a silly name or like a joke name that actually stuck as the name of the place in Egyptian. But it is also, I think, exactly the same place as Alexandria. I think there's a restaurant in Alexandria called Rakote. I don't know if it's still there. It was there when I lived there like 10 years ago. But anyway, so that's the Egyptian name of the city. So you do it either way. Okay, so
Is it Egyptian or Greek?
Rakote? Is that Mustafa? Are you in here somewhere, Mustafa?
Yes, he is.
There he is. I knew that was you. Rakote is Egyptian. It like Ra is, it's like side. It's a very basic word that kind of only means something in context, but it can be like the district of a city. And then Kote is like from like Kot to build. So it's Rakote, like literally construction site, or construction district or something. But it caught on as the Egyptian name of the city of Alexandria, which of course was always called Alexandria. It was founded by Alexander, and it was never really called anything else. At first, it's not like it was, I don't think anyway, I don't think there was like much of a name for this place before the founding of Alexandria. It was kind of just like, a spot on the map. It was just, there was kind of a natural harbor there. Maybe there were some fishermen who lived there, but it wasn't like a city yet. So it was founded with the name Alexandria, and then later it got the name Rakote. So yeah, do with that what you will. Fine to translate Rakote however you want. You can translate it as Rakote, or you can translate it as Alexandria. Totally up to you. Okay, Mustafa, I'm putting you on the list to read for later. I didn't know you were here until just now. But for right now, we have Eric. Eric, do you want to do 4 of these?
Okay, yeah, I can read though. Okay,
Sure. Shall I go ahead?
no problem.
Yeah, but Mustafa, you're on the list. We'll come back to you. Go ahead, Eric.
I get the hyenas again. Looks like
You too.
So, folk a Piero Ianef ho ite evol.
Yeah.
So, let's see. He went rather to the river to clean his clothes, or hyenas.
Yeah. To clean his hyenas. And I put 2 pictures there. I had put 1 picture there, and someone in the last class said it was confusing because there's only 1 hyena in the photo, and it's multiple hyenas, and so that doesn't make any sense. So I put another picture there where I found multiple hyenas, just in case that was a source of confusion for anyone.
Okay, sounds good. I
Mhm.
actually had noticed that last night too, but there was only 1 picture in the Google Doc. So imos eso en terote iwo e uom em naf. So I sat down to drink the milk and to eat the meat.
Yeah, good. Puff is meat.
I had a quick question about the milk, the word milk.
Sure.
It seems like there's a masculine and a feminine form of the milk, of the word milk. I thought that was interesting.
What's the masculine form of the word milk?
Well, I thought that they had like there was one with it could either take a P, like for like the definite article, or a T.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah,
that's
that's
what they.
Yeah.
Yeah, the textbook has it.
Yeah, and not to be too perverted, but masculine milk just makes me think of something else.
So much for YouTube.
Oh, I didn't even go there, but yeah, fair point. Okay.
There's more to these sentences than I understood.
Yeah.
So
That was just so unexpected for me. Maybe it can be masculine. The word is so feminine to me. It's I mean, not just because like, milk is like marked for gender because only women produce milk under normal circumstances, but also because it has these like 2 T's at the end. Like it's erode, but it's like in older stages of Egyptian, it's ear chet or ear tet. So it's actually got 2 T's at the end. And of course the final T is not pronounced. So it makes it just feel like very feminine to me. But if it has been attested in the masculine, I don't think anyone using that word would have made the like humorous connection to like, you don't want to, you milk a cow, you don't milk a bull.
Exactly. That's where I was going with that.
I don't think they would have noticed that because normally it's generally true that with gendered languages, sexual vocabulary is not as obvious as you might expect. So it's not the case that the word penis is masculine in every gendered language, right? It can very easily be the case that the word for penis is feminine, right? Which seems kind of counterintuitive when you're thinking about, when you're taking gender to refer literally to sex, but it very often doesn't. There's a great book called Latin Sexual Vocabulary that goes into all kinds of detail about these kind of like broader linguistic questions about like what exactly does gender mean if it doesn't refer to sex, but we kind of align it that way most of the time. So yeah, silly component to that question, but also a very real linguistic question is like, should the word milk always be feminine because women's bodies produce milk? And the answer, according to the world's languages, is no, not necessarily. So
yeah, I'll have to check that out because I mean, it just seems like arbitrary. Like you're dividing this language up into 2 things, and it's supposedly gender, but like a lot of times it's it's more often not than it is. So it's like, why call it gender?
Well, that actually is the meaning of the term gender. So gender in linguistic terms can be like there are languages that have a plant gender and an animate object gender and things that fly in the sky like bugs and birds gender. Gender just means type, and there are quite a few languages with many more genders than just masculine and feminine or masculine, feminine, and neuter, as we see so often in Indo-European languages and Afroasiatic languages. Yeah, so gender actually doesn't mean sex. And when we use it that way, I think that's just a way of people trying to be polite. I think it's a bit of a euphemism where you say like, is your gender masculine or feminine? That's actually kind of meaningless. That's not what gender means.
Interesting.
A lot of linguists have actually taken to not using the term gender anymore and instead just saying noun class, because the term gender in English is just so overloaded with the different meanings. And so really you can think of it as a lot of languages like Coptic are just divided into two or more classes of nouns. And it just happens that a lot of times when there are two classes, men are put into one, like are grammatically put into one of those categories and women are grammatically put into the other. But ultimately that's like completely arbitrary, and there's two noun classes aren't really like inherently like feminine or masculine. Those are just like the groups that females and males are associated with.
Yeah.
Wow.
There
I'm
there
glad
are
I
kind
brought
of
all this
loose
up because
alignments.
I already learned a ton.
Yeah, it's an interesting subject, actually. It can, at first it can seem kind of silly because the thing that triggers it is always sexual vocabulary, because then it's like, well, wait a second. Like, I know what the difference is between a man and a woman, and this thing is clearly, feminine, not masculine or whatever. But the alignment is actually much fuzzier. It's like words for like the big puffed up version of a thing will very often be the masculinized version of some feminine noun. It's like you take the regular one and you want to make it like, big and proud and self-important, and you make it masculine. And obviously there's a connection to the way we stereotypically think of men and women involved there, but it's very loose. It's very fuzzy. So yeah, good stuff to keep in mind. So milk is like 99% feminine in Coptic, though. I don't think I've ever seen it written in the masculine. Maybe I just forgot. I don't know. Anyway, I actually forgot who was translating. Was it Eric?
Yes. That was
Okay. Sorry, Eric.
No, that was great. Thank you. So al tano emoi ine nak pejome. They sent me to bring you these books.
Very close. 99%. Not these books.
Hey, this book.
This book. Yeah. Good.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. They sent me to bring you this book.
I just saw it as a plural. Afine en umou e ia nef u erete emof. He brought some water to wash his feet.
Yeah. And then it's emof. So he brought some water to wash his feet with it, probably, or in it.
Okay, got it. Great. I wasn't sure what to do with that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's just kind of dangling out there, but I think it's probably in it. And then referring to the water specifically, not to him. Yeah, however that works out. Okay, good job, Eric. Sorry we interrupted your translating for so long, but we got some good stuff out of it. Ralph, do you want to do 4 of these?
Sure. Aftuon ebok epahu et Jerusalem. He got up to go back to Jerusalem.
Good. Yep.
Nem pentaf jok ebol impehob. Who was it that finished this task?
Yeah, that's right. So this is the way. It's a little weird because the Coptic literally says, "Who is the one who he finished this task?" Which is a little wordy by English standards if you translate it literally, but this is the normal Coptic way of saying that.
And then
it's kind of like what? Sorry, it's kind of like when you translate like qu'est-ce que c'est into English, and it's like what is it that this is? What is it that this is? Or something that sounds really wordy, but it's this is the normal Coptic way.
Yes. Well, it only works in French because they've dropped 2/3 of every word.
Right. I think you can imagine that being the case in Coptic as well, though. Like Nim Pentaf Jokevol is it's probably very, very rapid. It's not Nim pe entaf joke evol, where you're saying each thing distinctly. It's nim pentaf joke evol.
I mean, to show something like that.
Yeah.
Show, yeah. You can sort of run it together or
Yeah,
drop some of the sounds.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nim penta hotef himpe. Himpe. Beth is. Oh, right, hide. Who was hidden in the house?
Yeah, good. Who was hidden in the house? You've translated this third person plural as a passive. You could also say who is the one whom they hid him in the house. Yeah, to be very literal, but yeah, good.
And they in Toloe, Nentaf Bolu Ebo. These commandments are the
Good.
ones which they Bol Ebo is got rid of, something like
Yeah,
that.
got rid of. Good.
Didn't obey.
Yeah, it's like they
out.
annulled them. They annulled these commandments. And good job with commandments. So this is the word entole, and then it's been made into like a sort of Egyptian style plural.
Egyptianized plural of the Greek word. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
weird.
exactly. And we talked about this in the last session. Someone asked about it, and I thought it was an interesting question because I didn't really know the answer right away. Like they said, what determines whether a loan word can be pluralized and have its own plural? And I honestly don't know. I think entole is an old enough word that it's possible that Coptic speakers had forgotten that it was originally a Greek word, and we're just viewing it as a native Egyptian word. I think that can facilitate this process of regularizing the morphology.
Which is kind of fascinating. Like you'd think the final eta would be a dead giveaway, but I guess if you don't actually know Greek, that wouldn't be obvious.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Think about it like in English, we have the word octopus, which should be, should, depending on how you think about it, should be pluralized as octopi, but instead we generally pluralize it as octopuses.
Yeah,
Right.
It's actually octopotus is the actual plural. Yeah, because it's the word pos, the Greek word pos meaning foot, not the us nominal singular masculine ending from Latin. They just coincidentally look alike, right? And then we say octopuses, so we just normalize the English morphology. But then sometimes people say octopi, which is actually not really anything. It's based on this coincidental similarity of the spelling of the word to like a Latin noun. And then the real plural, octopodes, nobody under normal circumstances, nobody is going to say octopodes off the cuff, right? Like that's very forced. That's very stilted. So that's not really the plural, even though technically it is. And then the question is like, what allows a word to be treated like octopus? How does a word become, I was gonna say octopussy, which is just, no, not what I want to say. How does a word become octopus-like enough that it can do that? I don't know.
I mean, I wonder if part of it is just oct is already in that Latin register. So maybe that's why people think it needs a scientific name sounding plural.
Sure. Yeah, that's probably a big part of it.
Yeah, because it's not an 8 arms, it's an octopus, octopodus.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably part of it. So then you're not just talking about like the longevity of the word or how frequently it is used in this foreign language into which it's borrowed. You're also talking about kind of arbitrary context clues, like do we associate the oct component of that word with Greek or Latin? And of course, naturally, we associate it more with Latin because most of the words that have oct in them are from Latin. that are borrowed into English anyway. So yeah, there's all of that goes into it. And I don't really know the exact answer. I know that there are people researching Greek loanwords in Coptic. There's this thing called the DDGLC, I think, Database and Dictionary of Greek Loanwords in Coptic. It's this
Right.
really cool digital humanities project where they're just like collecting all the examples, because as you may have noticed, this is something that's neglected in Coptic. If you pull up Crumb's dictionary and look up a word, if you're looking up the word intole, it might not show up in Crumb's dictionary because that's a Greek word. Well, that's not how languages work, of course. Languages borrow words and then they don't mark them as being separate from themselves just because they're borrowed. But that's the way Coptic studies have worked. So a lot of people are kind of working to bridge that gap. Oh, I think we have a link to the project. Database and Dictionary of Greek Loanwords in Coptic. So cool, so nerdy, just like, oh, just over the top nerdy. I love it. It's such a cool project. Yeah. Anyway, that logo is just, it really does it for me. Okay, so all of that is about this one word in Toloe, which is a Greek word that has become Copticized. When somebody said something about, I think it was GT, sorry if I'm misremembering, but somebody said something about the final eta. Maybe that was you, Ralph. The final eta is routinely associated with the qualitative in Coptic. So wouldn't necessarily be a giveaway that it's not a Coptic word, although, yeah, it's not very common on the ends of nouns to see a final eta. That's quite rare, which might actually help explain the irregular plural too, because while it is relatively rare, it is also highly marked. Like people are aware of it, even though they don't encounter it that often. So maybe they make a special effort to do it properly, according to, their own ideas of what proper speech is. In the same way that like classics nerds will be very proper in their pluralization of words that end in or on. People say ostracon, ostraca in academic settings, just because they're trying to do it correctly. Anyway, okay, I hope I rambled enough about that. Definitely putting this video on YouTube so everyone can enjoy all of my ramblings. Johnny, do you want to do 4 of these?
Sure, that'd be great. So let's see here. Takiera te entauti nas poik. And let's see here. The widow. Let's see here. The widow to whom they gave bread.
Yeah.
Cool. And then 12. Nim pentaf bol natenem pujotme. And I have, who was it that interpreted the scroll?
Yeah, good. Interpreted Nathan, the scroll.
Cool.
Can you add that in there?
Let's see. They interpreted. Is that the word for from? Is that what that is in Tayton?
No,
I can't.
It's not that word. You're thinking of in Hayton, probably that means like in or from. This is just this is the form of na. So we have Coptic keyboard. We have nai, knock, ne, naf, nas, non, Nathan. Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting now. I think, is it now or no? Whatever the last one is. It's this one.
Cool. Yeah, so that would be who interpreted the scroll for you all?
Yeah, good.
Cool.
Okay.
And then let's see, 13. Let's see, entof, pentafton, en tupule. And for that one I have see who's he. So I have he who closed the gate.
Yeah,
Cool.
he
I'm
is
trying
the
to.
one who closed the gate.
Yeah, I read all these down, but I'm taking your advice from last week and trying to do it on the fly.
Yeah,
But
that's
when I
great.
fail, I drop back to what I wrote down.
Doing it on the fly is perfectly fine. There's no penalty for getting things wrong. In this case, Intof, Pentof, Ton, and Tupule, he is the one who closed the gate. So
Okay.
it could be he closed the gate, or it can be emphasizing like specifically it was him who closed the gate as opposed to someone else. Either way is fine.
Yeah, because that pronoun at the front, like we don't really see that too often, like at least in the exercises.
Yeah, in this case, it's a nominal sentence where this is a noun phrase, the one who closed the gate, and then this is the subject. So it's technically, he is the one who closed the gate. Yeah, with that kind of emphasized.
Cool. Then 14, Nine and Taishopef and Totu. In Totu. I have, let's see here. Let me try and do it. These are the, so I have, these are the things I received from them.
Good, yeah.
Cool.
Um,
Yeah, okay.
it can mean that. It can mean that just because Coptic is not always super precise in its use of pronouns, especially with regard to number. It's a pretty common thing that number can be a little flexible. So you might say, these are the ones that I received it from them. Coptic might say that, but I think in this case, if we assume that Lambden has got everything exactly right, these are not the things that you're receiving. So there's multiple entities here. So try to see if you can work out where everything goes.
Yeah, that's interesting because the nigh at the front of it is like plural, but the F at the end of that is like for third person singular for like an it or a he.
Right.
So
that can happen where they actually do agree, and the original speaker has just been a little loose with the connection between the pronouns and everything. But in this case, let's pretend that it's exactly correct, which means that those two things cannot be referring to the same entity.
Yeah, interesting. So let's see. Receive them. These are the things which that I can't seem to figure out why that would be singular and that would be plural. I'm assuming it's like the verb would take two accusatives in a sense, you could say, like two direct objects. As what maybe one of my working theories here. So like you received these things for it from them. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't really know how to help you there because your thinking is all fine. Like, how do you get multiple things involved with this verb? I would say that it's not a double accusative, but you can have at least three entities involved with receiving. You can have the person doing the receiving. You can have the thing received, which is an entity in its own right. And you can have the person from whom the thing is received. So there are three possible entities. One of them we know is just a generic plural, so they. And these are the ones whom, and then for the first entity, we have I, right? I Shopef. It must be first person. I received them, or I received it. And then the second entity is the thing received. And that in this case is it. I received it, or I received him. So Nai can't agree with that. It must agree with this.
Oh. Oh boy, yeah, it's like one word down the line. Okay, so I received let's see, I received it from them, I guess.
Yeah,
wow,
that's it.
Interesting.
These are the ones whom I received it from them.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah, they're the people. They're the shop can also be to buy something. So like nai in this case refers to the sellers, whereas
Okay.
F refers to the item itself that was received.
Ah, okay. Wow. Yeah. That was a total, like,
Yes.
totally threw me off, especially
Sorry,
with that
Johnny.
not, especially with that nigh in there too, because like it almost looks like a what do you call it, a copula, kind of like, where it's like what, I can't remember what it's called, like but anyway, yeah, it
Yeah,
just looks like
copula
a
is right.
copula. Yeah, so I was like, okay, what's on the left equals what's on the right.
Right.
But it was just like further down the sentence. So
Yeah, it's embedded in that relative clause in a way that is totally unpredictable technically, right? Like technically you need to read the entire relative clause until you find the best match for the antecedent. So we've got nai, which is, a third person plural. We need to find, there's only one third person plural in that relative clause, so it's got to be that thing, right? Technically, according to the rules of, very proper grammar. In practice, however, the object or the antecedent of the relative clause is almost always the object of the verb or the subject. It's very rarely this pronoun attached by a prepositional phrase in this way. So this is weird. You wouldn't expect it, and you can only really find it by being very sort of rigid about how the Coptic grammar works. But we got there. So yeah, and
thanks for walking me through it. Appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good exploration of the different possibilities. Joe, do you want to take 4?
All right. Hi, everybody. Good to see you all. Number 15. Neohor ne entau the dogs are the ones who ate it.
Good. Yeah. And what is it?
The ones who ate it.
Just threw you a curveball there, Joe. I'm sorry.
Um,
we don't know. We don't know. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just some random it doesn't agree with anything we have already.
I figured there was an antecedent like meat or anything disgusting like dogs eat.
Yeah, whatever dogs eat, it's normally horrible. But I also thought puff, like the meat, because it's just, it's masculine, so it agrees.
Yeah.
Yeah, could be anything. Good.
Okay, number 16, Pekristos Pentaphon Nabal. The Christ is the one who opened my eyes.
Good. Yep.
Let's see, number 17, Nim Nentau Opu Epitime et Mau. Okay, let's see. Who are the ones who, let's say, I'll use a passive. Who are the ones who are ascribed to that town?
Yeah, that good instinct to jump to the passive when translating it actively just kind of doesn't mean anything. That's often in real text, that's a dead giveaway that you're actually dealing with a passive when the literal translation is just kind of meaningless. But who are the ones whom they ascribed them to that town? Yeah, either way is fine.
Yeah, that's how I did it at first, and it seemed a little too wordy. There was no antecedent there, so I thought, well, we'll try the passive this time.
Yeah,
number 18.
Passive definitely works better here.
Yeah, okay, number 18, Pesach Pentaf Ta'o Nai. Okay, let's see, this is the teacher, Pentaf, is the one who gave them to me.
Yeah. Good. Okay, and that's it for right now, Joe. We'll go to GT. Do you want to do these 4 from part B?
Sure. Piospasmos, Pentapagelos, or Paganolos, Choofnas. This greeting that or which the angels gave to him.
Not quite. So Jo'of is
Joof.
Jo is to say. So Jo'of is, what does the F refer to? What's the
Oh, the angel.
antecedent?
Gotcha. Yep. So it's
It's not the angel. It's not the angel
Oh,
GT. It's referring to the aspasmos,
oh,
which
the
is also
greeting.
masculine. Yeah.
Gotcha. So this greeting which the angel gave to her.
Said it. The greeting which the angel said it.
Said to her, yeah.
Yeah. So you wanna just say said in English because the English verb say often doesn't require the direct object, and it can sound kind of weird in English. But in Coptic it does. The word Jo, to say, really wants a direct object, and it almost always has one. So the greeting which the angel said it literally to her, Nas, who is she?
She is Mary.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. A little bit of a curveball also, because she's not actually in this sentence, but you know, who else would we be talking about? It's got to be Mary.
Okay. Then Upentakshop in Tagora, who Takshop.
Give you a hint.
Yeah.
Is almost always a thing. So what rather than who.
Oh. What did you masculine receive in the forum?
Good. Yeah. And this would be a good opportunity to translate shop as by, just because the agora is almost always a marketplace. But yeah.
Okay. Then Pyrpe Pentaukutuk. Sorry. Perpe pe intaukotif inki ne niote. Sorry, I didn't get it. I didn't do as much review of this chapter as I normally do.
That's okay. We'll just work through it.
So this Irpe, is that
Erpe is
why?
temple.
Oh, temple. Okay. This temple, this is the temple that Taukutif.
So the verb is kot, to build.
Yep. Oh, this is the temple that was built Nenyote.
In this case, it's not passive because we actually do have a plural subject to take the place here.
So this is the temple that Neote built, and I'm not sure what that is.
Oh, this is our fathers. So Yode is the plural of Yot, and then Nen Yode, our fathers.
This is the temple that our fathers built.
Very good. Yep, that's it. And the good object lesson in this question of like, is the verb form passive or not? It's basically decided by whether you have anything that can go in there. And in this case, we have something that can go in there, so we can say it's decidedly not passive, but you know, you don't always know for sure.
And then 22, pedome pentas shache in a mouth or in a mouth. This man that she spoke to or spoke out. Okay, spoke to.
Yeah, this man is the one whom she spoke with him. very literally. This man, and then the one whom she spoke with him. This is what we call an AB nominal sentence. It's actually missing the copula. So we might expect a pe in here somewhere, probably at the end. That works okay. But either way, it works out. You can also make a nominal sentence in Egyptian by just putting two nouns together. So this man, the one whom she spoke with him. All right, good job, GT. Thanks for kind of fighting through some of those with me. Looks like we have 24. I think everyone gets 3 each of these. Starting with Mustafa. Mustafa, do you want to do these first 3?
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
See this up. Entere pulmonachos joke empef hope able of tone of book able. When the monk had completed his work, he left.
Towen is like that.
He rose and he went away.
Yep. That's it.
Anko and the mouth. Afko and the mouth sharp empire. Let me check. I know this word. What's Afko? I couldn't remember.
It's like stay or wait. Listen, Mustafa, where you went?
Anko, I'm here.
Okay. Cho is like to stay or to wait.
Yeah, Ancho and the mouth sharp empire.
Okay.
We stopped with it to with him.
Yep.
To the festival of the sun.
That's a possible translation. It's probably
Festival?
just the
Sabbath.
rising. Probably just the rising of the sun, Mustafa.
Okay, yeah.
But
the rising of the sun.
Yeah. Festival is also correct. It could say that. It's just more likely that it's rising. Okay, and last one.
Entere pre sha anale agent nen khitur avo amput and sof.
Good. Yeah.
When the sun rise, we anale let me check. What's that mean? Remember.
Ale is like to it's like to get onto the back of an animal.
Climb or something.
Yeah, mount.
Okay, mount. Then when the sun rise, we mount onto our horses and
Mhm.
we run.
Yeah.
We run
So
after him.
yeah, after him.
Yeah.
So I imagine this sentence, this is like the Western sentence in my mind. When the sun rose, we got onto our horses and we chased
Yeah.
after him. So it's like, there's like, I don't know. It's like the good, the bad, and the ugly or something. And this is like, he chased after, I don't know. I'm trying to think of when that will happen.
They formed
Like
a posse.
They formed a posse, right? It's the bad and all those dudes, and they're chasing after Blondie. So when the sun rose, they got onto their horses and they chased after him. Yeah. Okay. I don't know if that makes sense. But if it doesn't, you should probably go watch The Good, Bad, and the Ugly because it's one of the best movies ever. Anyway. Okay, Ethan, do you want to do these three?
Yeah. Let's see. Awopeth, Pe, and Doid. We ascribe to the house of David.
Almost. So there's just a little pronoun confusion here. It's not we.
Oh, they ascribe. Wow. Yeah.
And they ascribe what?
I mean, it's they ascribe to it, the house of David.
I would translate that F as a direct object. So they ascribe it to the house of David.
I see.
And then it could be it or it, you know, because
Or
it's a
him,
gendered
or
language,
him.
or him. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it
Okay.
could refer to Jesus, right? They ascribed him
Yes.
to the house of David.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ink spilt over exactly how Jesus belongs to the house of David.
Sure.
So it could be related to that somehow.
Sure. All right. Interesota menai, asci, pescere, as shopif. I translated that as, when she heard me, she took her son and she hid him.
Very good. But there's an issue with interesota menai. That can't be when she heard me, because that would be interesotum eroi. That would use a conjugated form of the preposition.
Okay. When she listened to me, would that be
It's
the
not
other?
me.
Oh.
It's actually just, it's confusing because I know nai is like this form of the na preposition pronoun combination, but in this case it's the other nai, the one that's just like the demonstrative
Oh, when she
adjective.
heard this. Yeah, like
Yeah,
the paitai nai construction.
exactly.
Yeah, na
And
is a lot of things.
it's too many things, honestly, especially when you're just learning. It's not as easy to kind of like automatically put things where, it's not as easy to know the landscape of what can and can't be when you're just
Yeah.
learning it, because you don't have all that like fossilized yet.
Yeah.
Like I already know that the first translation you gave would be interesota meroi. I already know what it would be, so I know that
Yeah.
this can't be that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that helps.
Let's see. Altom in Kian Rome in Empoli into police. I have this translated as the men closed the gates of the city. Or they closed, that is to say the men. But the problem is that M in the poli.
It's not a problem. It's this is the direct object marker here.
Yeah.
And then this is the plural definite article. So the gates, plural, it would be
Oh,
N,
right. Yeah.
but because of the P, it changes to an M.
Yeah. Okay. I apparently understood this when I wrote it down, and I've since forgotten.
Sometimes it clicks, sometimes it doesn't. It's just how it goes. Anyway, yeah, that's one of the frustrating parts of language learning, is like you can be reading one day and you can just like read it more or less fluently, and you pick up the same text the next day and you can't read it at all. It's just a frustrating part of learning, but that's just kind of how it goes. I know mathematicians face the same thing, because I've definitely had the experience of like, understanding perfectly something that I'm doing and then like doing the exact same thing the next day, like in the exam, and having no idea what it means. It's just, sometimes your brain works, sometimes it doesn't. Rasmus, do you want to do these three?
Sure. So the first is enteriephat I ta'af now, which would be when I counted the money, I gave it to them.
Good. Yeah, exactly.
The next one, empewup en shache penjois, which then would be they did not esteem the words of our Lord, or perhaps in the passive, the words of our Lord were not esteemed.
Yeah. You could even say, if you wanted to make a really loose English translation that captures the meaning more or less perfectly, you could say, the words of our Lord didn't count.
Yes, right. That makes sense. And then number 8. No, that was number 8. Number 9, which is a long one. Okay, so I'll try. As chope je enterowon en tepule en tepolis a plaus pod evol hitootes.
Wow. 100% Rasmus, well done.
Thanks. So it happened that, or namely, or something like that, when the gate of the city was opened. The gate of the city was opened. Applause. The people ran out through it.
Yeah, good. That's it. It happened when the gate of the city was opened. The people ran out through it. Yeah, or just ran through it. Evol hidots is Evol hidots does not exactly translate into English, but you got the idea just right. Like it's through the gate, right?
Yeah.
They're not going over it or under it. They're going through it.
Right.
Very good. All right. Thanks, Rasmus. Hytham, do you want to do 3 of these?
Okay. 11, 10.
10.
Entrepuk أو IG in in Benoh in Mal. When I went, I took the rope with me.
Good. Yeah, when I went, I took the rope with me. Can you read that word again for us, Pnuh?
Benoh. In Benoh.
Yeah. There was a question in Discord about whether these final horis were actually pronounced. And I think some people said, it can't be done. You can't pronounce a final H like with nothing after it. And I argued that, like, no, Arabic speakers do it all the time with no trouble. And you did it correctly just now, so I just wanted to emphasize that.
It's easy when the hori is at the end. It's easier for me sometimes to pronounce it as an pharyngeal ha.
Yeah, me too. Actually, for some reason that it's just easier to hear. So you kind of have an instinct to make it like that. Also, I feel like in Arabic words, if there's a final sound like that, it's almost always ha. It's never head. The head just doesn't get pronounced if it's at the end. So yeah.
Sometimes it does,
however,
but it's short.
Yeah, it's like a little teeny tiny. It's like when people say like wallahi, and then they actually say the H. But if they say wallah, they don't really say the H.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway.
11. Inte rensotem en charge en tafjo an rashe emate. When they heard the word he spoke, when we heard the words he spoke, we rejoiced greatly.
Yeah, exactly right. When we heard the words that he spoke them, we rejoiced a lot.
12. Afon e Blaus in the Horsheim, he ascribed us to the people of Jerusalem.
Yeah, good. All right, thank you, Hytham.
I have a question about Jerusalem.
Sure.
In Saidic, there is a hori, but in this abbreviation, there is no horis.
In Bohairic, you mean there's a hori?
Maybe Bohairic, I don't remember if it's either Bohairic or Saidic.
I think it's like this. How could there be a hori?
Inside the theta.
Oh, yeah. Oh, in Saidic. Okay, yeah, because it's like this. I'm sorry. Yeah. Jerusalem. Like this. Yes, this is how it is. And then those merge and become the theta. Thanks, Ralph. I was never going to catch that. Yeah. It's just Jerusalem.
That's the reason of the theta then.
Yeah, it's because the word can have a H on the front of it. I think it's because, like, obviously the word is the Hebrew word, but I think it was interpreted through Greek as this like hiero part. So the first part of the word Jerusalem is being kind of reinterpreted as this Greek component that means holy, because it's like the holy city. But that's not actually what it means. The actual etymology of the name of Jerusalem is unknown, but the Yeru part is not the Greek word, right? It's just it's a Hebrew word. Obviously, the Shalom part is related to shalom, but so peace, something to do with peace. But I don't think anybody actually knows the etymology. Yeah. Okay. Eric, do you want to do 3 of these?
Sure, I'll give it a try. It's actually good because I have a little question on 15. So enteru temkine en joome entan hopu hem pei alvok evol. So it's when, this is the negative tem, when they did not find the books which we hid in the house, they went away.
Very good. Yeah, and good note on this negative tem. We mentioned it very briefly last time, but in certain verb forms, they are negated by this infix, this tem infix, which is actually from an older verb form that meant like to fail to do something. But in these longer compounds where we have like, you know, the temporal, then the pronoun, and then the verb, negation is normally by infixing this tem, whatever it is, particle, I guess. So yeah, good call.
14, neu hoor uom em paf. The dogs ate the meat.
Good.
I wasn't quite sure the point of that in this chapter, but
I have no idea why that sentence is in there. It's such a throwaway.
and this one I'm not sure made sense. En teref he erou afbal evol en neu nu with the H at the end. So it's when he fell, if I got the verb right, when he fell upon them, he undid their ropes.
Yep. So to fall upon is a Coptic idiom that means to find something by chance.
Got it. Okay. Okay. When he found undid their ropes. Okay. That makes more sense.
Yeah. So we can imagine a scenario where someone finds some people who have been tied up and immediately frees them, of course.
I was thinking of falling. It didn't make sense. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Good job, Eric. Ralph, do you want to do 3?
Sure. Enteri Nayarof, Ainaharof. So when I saw him, I pitied him.
Yeah, he must look like shit.
He's been tied up.
He's just having a bad day. It just immediately causes pity in anyone who sees him.
Enteref Jokevol, Inneshaje, Aftom Enefbal Afmo. Afmu, I guess.
Yeah.
So when he finished these words, he closed his eyes and died.
Yeah.
Last words.
I don't know why this sentence cracks me up. It's Yoda. It's like the death of Yoda. He just like says some stuff and then he's like, okay, I'm tired now. And then just dies.
And Yoda, of course, always speaks with Enki for the subject because it's always after the verb.
Yeah.
Interef now erau af jos now cha etbe u etetene impema. Etetene epema. So after he saw them, he said to them, quote, why did you come to this place? Why
Good.
did you plural? Yeah. Come to this
Yeah.
place.
Why did y'all come to this place? Very good. Okay. Almost finished. Let's see. Johnny, do you want to do 3 of these? Wait, hang on. I have 1, 2, 3. I have 4 people. And I have 6. Oh, whoops. I miscalculated. It'll work out. Okay. Yeah. We'll just do these 3, Johnny.
Okay, sure, cool. Let's see here, 19. Okay. Apelhor wom insa sarx pio. And for that one, it's their dog gnawed at the flesh of the donkey.
Yep. That's it.
Nice. All right. And then 20. Ashope je entere pnau pesmise hon ehun asbok e pie en tesmau. And let's see. And it came to pass. I know that stock phrase already. And it came to pass when. Let's see. And it came to pass when the hour of her labor approached.
Mm-hmm.
She went to her mother's house.
Good. Yeah.
Cool.
Excellent.
Right on. Not to be undone by 21 here. It's even longer. Awesome. So enteru now e poin peho awo sotem ed neo shaje as I'm sorry, au he epika au hen neho. And so for that one I have let's see here. When they saw the light of his face,
yep,
and heard his words,
mm-hmm.
they fell on the ground and hid their faces.
Yep, that's what they did. He's
That's
got a real shiny face, and
Yep.
he's got some words, and they just, I mean, they're just absolute bangers, like whatever they are, because people are just rolling around on the floor.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
just cannot handle it. I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, okay, thanks, Johnny.
Yep.
Joe, do you wanna bring us home?
In that last sentence, it was an exact description of the scene in the Two Towers when the guys were in the Fangorn Forest and they saw Gandalf for the first time.
Oh,
They
yeah.
saw his shining face. We watched that movie we watched the marathon a couple weeks ago, so this is an exact description of that scene.
Oh yeah, it's Gandalf coming back for sure. That's
Yep.
exactly what's being described here.
Man, I almost think that we're like halfway through overdubbing both a Western and The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Let's just overdub it, man.
Star Wars and Harry Potter. Let's just
Oh, yeah,
let's
yeah.
hit them all. Let's just get it all done in Coptic.
Last project. Let's do it.
Yeah.
There we
Do it.
go. There we go. All right, back to the real world or something. Number 22. Etveu ataten bol ebol nentole netanyota. Why did you nullify the commands of your fathers?
Good. Yeah.
Number 23. Interestum he e pescere mau asrima. Okay, when she did not find her daughter there, she wept.
Good.
And then 24. Teref tumwon mpero ntefri ibokebol. When he did not open the door of his cell, I went away.
Good. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else to be said about those. I think those are good translations. And that kind of finishes everything up for the exercises for today. We also need to look briefly at lesson 14 before we do lesson 14 exercises. And there's really only one thing in lesson 14. It's this thing called the second perfect. The name is really unfortunate because it's totally meaningless. There's nothing second about it. There's nothing first about the perfect you already know, except that this one was named first and this one was named second. It's totally arbitrary. But you already know the first perfect. So for example, pai shope at beatek, this happened because of you. That's just the regular first perfect or the preterite that you know, right? It uses the prefix to make the thing past, and then the verb, and then prepositional phrases or whatever comes after. You also know something called the relative first perfect, which is where you would have something like inta pai shope at beatek, which this happened because of you. That doesn't really make very much sense, but you know what I'm talking about. We just saw a whole bunch of examples of it. I'm just going to find one. Pentafwon in Naval. So this entafwon, who opened my eyes, right? You've seen this relative first perfect. Well, the second perfect looks exactly like the relative first perfect, and there's really no obvious way to tell them apart. They are the exact same written form, but they're slightly different in meaning. So in this chapter, if you go back and read it, you'll find that Lambden says the second perfect has the same inflectional forms as the relative of the first perfect, but usually without the initial epsilon. So entaisotum, entoxotum, etc. That's not true at all. It can have the initial epsilon, it cannot have it. That applies to both forms. The initial epsilon is just whether the scribe feels too lazy to write it or not. It really has nothing to do with the verb form. So there's actually no distinguishing features. The way that you tell them apart is you get really accustomed to knowing when to expect which one. And the way you do that is by sort of grokking the meaning of these things, which no one does. So as far as I'm concerned, no one alive today knows what the second perfect means. There's a bunch of different hypotheses. Many of them are quite good and fit the evidence, but there's just absolutely no way for us to be certain. But the basic gist of it is that the second perfect can emphasize an adverbial adjunct. So in the case of this sentence, into pai shope et beatek, it was because of you that this happened. So instead of just this happened because of you, we're emphasizing the because of you part. We're saying it was because of you that this happened, and we're not saying anything about the fact that this happened. So this part is taken as a given. This happened. We both know that, and then the new information is the added prepositional phrase. So this happened. We both know that already, but it happened because of you. That's the novel information that I'm sharing with you by expressing this sentence. It's one interpretation. That is the Pelotskian interpretation that came from his study of Coptic from like the 1930s, I think. I don't remember exactly when, 20s or 30s. And that was the standard view for a really long time. That's now been sort of challenged by a number of things. The greatest challenge comes from the actual textual evidence, where this construction that reliably works this way is less than 50% of the second tenses that you find in any given Coptic text. So it's like, okay, it could mean that, but if it does mean that, it doesn't even mean that most of the time. Most of the time, what the second tense does is it just kind of emphasizes the verb. And this is why I say the easiest way to translate the second tense is with the English emphatic. So for example, the first perfect, apai shope et beatek, I would translate as, this happened because of you, exactly the way Lambda does. The second example, entapai shope et beatek, I would translate as, this did happen because of you. So instead of just the regular past tense, I would use the English emphatic past tense. This did happen instead of this happened. Most of the time, if you translate the second tense that way, you will get the correct meaning out of it. The correct meaning will kind of just shake out naturally. So in this case, this did happen because of you. It's clear that there's been some kind of conversation like, this happened. No, it didn't. No, this did happen, and it was because of you. And then we automatically get out of it that emphasizing the because of you part if we just use the emphatic tense in English. So that's generally true. Most of the time, the second tense is used with questions, just because the nature of questions tend to favor this type of verb tense. It's exactly the same thing that happens in English. We say, you went, but we say, did you go, right? We don't say, went you? We don't make a question using the regular tense. We make a question using the emphatic tense. Coptic is the same way. So inta ushope, what happened? Intanim bokehun, who went in. Intak now anim, whom did you see? Intak ta'af and nim, whom did you give it to? And intaf ka'u and mal, what did he place there? Yeah. So this is the way Coptic forms questions. It marks the verb form, but it doesn't actually move the question word. So Coptic is one of these very rare and strange languages that doesn't have what we call WH movement. WH movement refers to the case of English, where interrogative words tend to be moved to the beginning of the sentence. So we say, what did you see? Instead of, you saw what? We move the question word. Coptic does not move the question word, and Egyptian Arabic also, as a result of Coptic influence, also does not move the question word. So yeah, that's like a unique feature of Egyptian language that survived all the way from the very oldest things we have. Egyptian just does not practice WH movement for whatever reason. And it's possible that the use of the second tense with questions is somewhat a response to that. It's a way of marking the question without WH movement. But yeah, no way to know that for sure. So that's basically it. I'm going to stop sharing. So you have a whole bunch of exercises to practice this with. You will not be at all expected to correctly identify the second tense for a super long time. It takes everybody forever. That's just all there is to it. Like you're going to get it wrong forever until you can reliably identify them. And then it's just going to click one day and you're never going to get it wrong ever again. So it's kind of amazing. So yeah, just be patient with that, work on lesson 14. And if there are no questions, I will see you all in a week.
Right. Ujai.
All right. Ujai.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Ujai.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.